Splendid. And yes, thank you very much indeed for that illuminating talk there with Ken Loach and all that that brought up. Now, on a completely different note, well, related, you're just about to publish a book, I understand, with Bloomsbury about the intellectuals of the left bank. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Well, which Parisian intellectuals do you think we most look to today when thinking about revolutions?
Oh, well. Large question. Perhaps, 68 very much, since we are talking about May 68 tonight, very much feeds on the generation before. And so, for instance, my book, it's 1940, 1950. You, of course, have the left bank, Simone de Beauvoir and Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre, but also at the same time, they are writers and artists, but they were also very interested in politics, and they informed very much the next generation's thoughts. I'm talking about Norman Mailer, who knew that he actually wrote his second book in Paris, 48. Saul Bellow wrote Au Gai March in Paris. Of course, you've got Giacometti, and you've got a lot of journalists that would make actually the news later, like Janet Flanner, who was this flamboyant American Paris correspondent of the New Yorker. Everybody has forgotten about her, but she was a friend of Hemingway. And there are many more. There's Art Buchwald, who was also very young. He got 3 Pulitzer Prizes. American. So there was, this effervescence and cross-cultural exchange that really fed the ideas of the time. And at the time, they wanted to find a third way, not Tony Blair's third way.
No,
a third way between, what we would call American imperialism, and something different from also the Soviet Union's imperialism. And actually, that was the beginning of the idea of Europe. That took shape at the time. And so, obviously, the struggle, because the Cold War would happen, a few years later, but they did try.
Yes.
And Jean-Paul Sartre funded a political party. Who remembers that?
No.
There's Gary Davis, last one.
Yeah.
He was 18, an American guy who fought during the war, who came to Paris for the first UN assembly and said, okay, well, let's have one passport for all. We're all citizens of the world, and we need one world government.
Yeah.
If it's not, the seeds of a future revolution that didn't take place, what is it?
Well, that's amazing. But, taking it to the present day, one of the things I found interesting as you were talking to Ken Loach, he'd said, he was quoting, I think, Daniel Cohn-Bendit, who obviously led that revolution in Nanterre, the beginning of it. And he said that Daniel said, it has to begin with a breakdown of the economy, and then from there you have a revolution, and from there then the workers have to unite. Do you think that, given that he also acknowledged that we've come to that place of a breakdown of economy in the UK, do you think that we might go towards revolution and change in that way, or do you think that that's just pie in the sky right now?
Well, revolutions are made of hopes. So you will always find people hoping for a change, a better society. And so in a way, everybody, every day, dreams of revolution, or at least a rebellion to change things. Because, if May 68 was not a revolution, it actually changed French society quite deeply. It didn't lead to any political revolution, but it was still a moment that was still debating. The jury's still out about the legacy of 68, but it was something.
Like a kind of a breath of fresh air almost.
Exactly. So, and also in the time we live in, Trump and Brexit, everything can happen. I mean, they did happen. Brexit happened. It's a counter.
We didn't believe it would happen.
No, and it's more like a counter-revolution, like Trump. But so who knows?
Who knows? Thank you very much indeed for your thoughts, Agnes, today.